Hey guys, Noel here, and Santino. This is another episode of the Noel and Santino Show. Today we'll be doing something exciting. We will be reviewing the Super Nintendo Mini, and also reviewing its high-quality competitor, the ATgames Sega Genesis Flashback. Many of you have probably watched YouTube videos or lived through the console wars of the early 1990s, where the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis fought it out in the marketplace for 16-bit video game prominence. And today we will review the re-releases of the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, where people my age resold their childhood at a tidy profit. Sadly, Sega is not making hardware anymore, so Sega's console is made by ATgames, which has significantly stepped up its game with this newest Sega Genesis release, and Nintendo will make the Super Nintendo Mini. Let's take an actual look at a actual Super Nintendo. Here it is. This is an actual Super Nintendo. Fairly large by, console standards when compared to the... Hold on a second. SNES Mini, which is about a quarter of its size. The SNES Mini is running right now on the TV. Here we go. We see it right now. Okay, now, the ATgames Sega Genesis, Santino is waiting feverishly to play this. This is an actual original Sega Genesis. This is the first system I ever owned. And the ATgames Sega, not as big a size difference as the Super Nintendo Mini, but still it's quite a bit smaller and lighter than the original hardware. The other cool thing about the Super Nintendo Mini, you get a very cool insert poster, because now you're playing with power. What kind of power? Nintendo power. There was no insert poster in with my ATgames Sega Genesis. So, that's just how it goes. Alright, let's actually take a quick look at controllers here. This is the controller that comes with the Super Nintendo Mini. It is identical to an original Super Nintendo controller. This is a Super Famicom controller, which is an original console controller. I don't have an actual Super Nintendo controller. Same size, they feel exactly the same. The only difference is that the Super Nintendo controller will have a different port that goes into the console, which Santino is sitting on. So here it is. This is the port that goes into the Super Nintendo Mini, which is different than the port that goes into the original Super Nintendo. Sega Genesis Classic will actually use the original Sega controllers. So the pins that you use to connect to your Sega Genesis are replicated. Sorry, wrong. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Same deal. So, we'll see with this video if the Genesis does what the Nintendon't, and I think we will see that the Genesis does things that the Super Nintendo Classic does not, but does it do everything as well as the Super Nintendo Classic? That's the answer that that's the question we will answer in this video. So, right now, I don't know if you can see this here, I'm going to try to, this might be a little tricky here, show you guys excuse me, up close. Try to get the webcam adjusted here. I'm okay, buddy. Just coughing. This is the Super Nintendo Classic. Extremely clear picture, perfect emulation, and it is. Don't touch the keyboard, buddy. It is running through the CRT filter, which will blend the graphics, better, because when this runs on an HD TV, and I don't personally mind this, you will get all the pixelized details of these 16-bit games. And I'm going to show you guys, they have an option on here to play these games with CRT, native 4:3, or what's called Pixel Perfect. So, come on. Let's see where Mario goes here. Oh, that's great. Tried to see what you guys were seeing on the screen and ended up dying. It's because Mario doesn't get rings like Sonic does. But as you can see here, guys, the whoa, this plays absolutely identical to playing this game on the actual hardware, because this actually is a Nintendo-made Super Nintendo. The only difference is it is smaller, and now Santino has the controller. So there we go. Santino is not quite as skilled at this game as I am, so but he is jumping very good. Hey, Santino, good deal. You killed a bad guy. Very good. So he has mastered Mario's jump here. Buddy, you're pretty good. Oh, good work. So, okay. Buddy, do you want to show them the different video filters to this fine piece of hardware here? Alright, so what you do if you want to go back to the menu screen on this is you hit the reset button. We'll look at this. The console does not have a cartridge slot or controller ports, but it does have a reset button and a power switch that are the same as an original Super Nintendo. You just click them up. So hold on, Santino. Okay, let's go back to this for just a second. Stop. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this or not. Here's the menu screen on this. So you can go up, go to display, and these are the different video options you can get. Here's Pixel Perfect, so we'll hit B to go back. Here are the different games. Secret of Mana, which was developed on the Nintendo PlayStation, Mega Man X, Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby Superstar, Final Fantasy III, formerly Final Fantasy VI in Japan, F-Zero, Earthbound, also known as Mother, Donkey Kong Country, Contra 3, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario 2, Link to the Past, Super Punch-Out, Metroid, Super Mario RPG, which I've been playing, it's very good, Mario Kart, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Castlevania 4, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and the unreleased Star Fox 2, which is a big selling point on this console. Santino is dying to play something. Let's play Castlevania 4. Konami. This is zoomed in really tight, so. Don't be worried, buddy. Simon Belmont will beat Dracula. I don't know if you guys can see, but you get like a ton of clear detail on this. Now, when you play this Pixel Perfect option on a game like Donkey Kong Country or Super Mario RPG, you see all of the amount of crazy pixel shading that they did, which you don't really see when you played this on an old low-def TV. So let's show you guys a little bit of gameplay on this here, wherever Santino hit the controller. There we go. Let's start. Alright, let's go in. And again, really, there's no cartridge slot on this. You can't play your Super Nintendo cartridges on this, but this plays, again, identical to how this game would play on a console Super Nintendo. Music is perfect, gameplay is perfect. Castlevania games always have insanely good music. How well can I play Castlevania 4 while holding a 1-year-old? That's the question. Fairly well, apparently. Well, until that bat hit me. Now I'm gonna have to get rabies shots. Alright. Just watching a really good video review on the Classic Gaming Quarterly of Castlevania 2 Rondo, Dracula X Rondo of Blood. So it was really good. So shout out to that guy. He's got a really good channel. Okay, so we kind of get the idea here. Let's show you guys the Sega Genesis here. So I want to show you guys quickly the Super Nintendo here. So, okay, so this again, you click up, takes you to the menu screen. I'm gonna turn it off. You start it off. It's like the old Super Nintendo, and it's shutting down. Okay, so let's take a look at the Sega Genesis. Don't worry, buddy. More games are coming. Now, what I'm going to do here for the Sega is, it's actually unhooked right now, so I'm going to hook it up. This is the back port. Similar to the SNES Mini, it's just got an HDMI slot and a power source slot. So we'll plug in the power source, and we'll actually swap out the HDMI cable just for convenience sake. So I'll plug this into the back. Now again, the cool thing about the Sega Genesis, and this is where we get to things that the Sega Genesis re-release does, things that it can do that the Super Nintendo cannot do, is the original cartridges for your Sega Genesis will play on the new Sega Genesis HD re-release. The downside to this console is the emulation is not always perfect on all of the games. If you want to play a cartridge on this game, and my experience, former ATgames Sega Genesises, their cartridges for your old Segas almost always work. This has been a lot more finicky with video game cartridges. I have tried to play Sonic 3 on cartridge, it won't play on this. I've tried to play Fantasy 4 on cartridge on this, it won't play on this. I've got Streets of Rage 2 in there. Streets of Rage 2 is playing fine. NBA Jam played fine. I don't know if it's my cartridges, but my cartridges will work on my Sega CDX in the game room. So this console might just be super finicky with cartridges. But the upside to this is that your Sega Genesis games will look as good as they can look on this console. The other downside to this console is that when you play games like Sonic, you will notice that the gameplay is not always as smooth as when you play it on an actual piece of Sega hardware. You could feel there's a little bit of hesitation with the screen flow. So that's really the only downside to the ATgames Sega Genesis. But you get to use your original controllers or wireless controllers on it, and there is a great library of games on this thing, and you can play your Sega Genesis cartridges. So let's actually, and like with the Sega Genesis, this also has, like with the Super Nintendo Mini, this also has a menu screen. Now, with this, and with the Super Nintendo Mini, I didn't show you this. You can do actually save states. But let's kick Streets of Rage going here. Again, insanely clear, very beautiful HD picture. So, get a little bit of gameplay going here. Now, ATgames in the past have been criticized for their poor audio quality emulation. The audio quality on this, and really all of the games, is pretty dead on. You'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. Streets of Rage is known for having an awesome soundtrack, so. Yeah, and gameplay on this plays really good, really very smooth. But then again, I just noticed you do get these slight hesitations sometimes where you can just tell this plays a little bit choppier than an actual Sega Genesis. But it's very slight. How well can I play Streets of Rage 2 while a 1-year-old is crawling on me? That's another question we'll answer in this video. And apparently I'm playing it fairly well. Or bare knuckle, as this was called in Japan. Alright, so this is a good sample of Streets of Rage. So we're gonna, again, if you hit the reset button on this, you can get this menu screen here. Hitting down will take you to the menu here. And now what we can do is toggle through the games that are on this console. Now the cool thing again about this is that not only are there Sega Genesis games, there's also Sega Master System and Game Gear games on this thing, which is another huge selling point of the Sega HD. So here's some of the games. You got Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic Spinball, Sonic 3D Blast. There is no Sonic 3, which I do not understand. Sonic Chaos, Sonic Drift, Sonic Triple Trouble, Tails Adventure. Then we got Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3. And then we get Alex Kidd games for the Sega Master System, Alien Storm, Altered Beast, Arrow Flash, Assault City, Astro Warrior, Baku, which I have not played. Come on. Bonanza Brothers, Shakan the Forever Man, which is a really cool game. Columns, I actually know someone who knows the guy. I'm friends with the guy who's friends with the guy who made Shakan the Forever Man. I met him at a comic convention I was drawing at. Columns 3, Comic Zone, Crackdown, Decap Attack, Defenders of Crisis for Game Gear, Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Dragon Crystal for Master System, eSWAT, Eternal Champions, Fantasy Zone 1 and Fantasy Zone Maze for Master System, Fatal Labyrinth, Flicky, Game Ground, Golden Axe 1 through 3, Jewel Master, Kenseiden for Master System, Kid Chameleon, Kung Fu Kid, Master System, Phantasy Star for Master System, which is a huge reason why I bought this. Let's actually play that. You can just look up all the games on this yourself. I'm not gonna go read this because we're now at like 17 minutes. So one of the main reasons I bought this thing. So again, very, very, very cool, very clear picture here. I've noticed the Master System games play extremely smoothly on this, so, you know, there's that. So there we see Phantasy Star. So again, you see all the, you know, 80s anime video game stuff in all its glory. Sega HD has a lot of really good RPGs on it. This also has the Shining Force games and all 4 Phantasy Stars, so see, we get the first-person dungeon. Oh no, it's a dead end. So again, you get the idea here. This is a very, very cool gaming experience here. Ooh, I found a treasure chest, and I do want to open it. Okay, take it for whatever it's worth. But Streets of Rage played fine. NBA Jam played fine the other day when I was playing with it. But it seems like the games that are on this console already, when you try to pop the cartridges in, they don't seem to work that well all the time. But playing Sonic here, I can get the sound test codes to work just fine. So I'm doing level select right here. So there's that. You know that worked because of the ring. Again, I really can't stress that these games look insanely good on this console here. I'll do Supersonic here. I don't know if you'll notice the lag going through the webcam, but actually, we don't need to do supersonic. Let's just go to Death Egg. So yeah, again, you probably can tell the graphics are quite good going through the HD, but I can tell that my timing is a bit off with Sonic here. And see, now if you're, playing a Sonic game and your timing is important, that's a bit of an issue, but this is not like a total deal breaker here. It's not like this is unplayable, but I'm telling you, it's not as smooth as on authentic Sega hardware, at least for this game. There are other games on this console where, it's negligible to non-existent lag, so. There we go. Yeah, let's see how Sonic fares against the big boss man here. One thing I didn't really focus on previously is the fact that these consoles have save states. Both the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo console have save states. So if you do, or if you are in a hurry or you need to get to bed or something like that, you can just pick up right where you left off, which is a really cool thing that, emulators on your PC introduced with these kind of classic gaming situations here. I always loved this fight. I just thought it was very epic and exciting. Now, I kind of died on purpose there, just because I wanted to kind of get a move on with this. Let's do a little bit of Shakan the Forever Man, and we'll wrap this up. This game is very cool. It was actually, this had to have been made by the people who made the original X-Men for Sega Genesis here. There is Shakan right there. This game is very cool, but it's also very hard. This game, doesn't feel like it's got any real lag or any choppiness to it. Whee! Again, the controls are very responsive on this, no problem at all. And I'm dead. Alright, on that note, we should probably wrap this video up, because we're, approaching 25 minutes at this point? So, there you guys have it. On the one hand, the Sega Genesis HD can play cartridges, has original controller slots, and has Master System and Game Gear games. On the downside, the emulation is not always perfect. The Super Nintendo, you have a closed cartridge slot, so you can't play your actual Super Nintendo cartridges on this thing, but the emulation is perfect. So you get more variety with the Sega HD and crystal clear, beautiful picture, but again, gameplay can not always be perfect, but it's still good. It's still totally acceptable. But again, it's not a replacement for original Sega hardware if you're looking for the smoothest possible gameplay. So, both are good consoles. I would give the edge to the Super Nintendo, whereas in the actual hardware of the originals, I would probably give the edge to the Sega Genesis. But yeah, both are really cool. But if you got to buy one, I'd probably buy the Super Nintendo. But the Genesis is still a total quality pickup. And buddy, are you now playing Shakan the Forever Man? No, go ahead. I don't want to make you self-conscious here. All right, very good. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, my name is Noel, and this here is Santino. We will see you later. Bye-bye.